Welcome to Communication Misconceptions. There are many individual beliefs about communication, but four basic truth theories come up when discussing the misconceptions of communication. The first is meanings are in people, not in words. The second is each communication sequence doesn't occur in a vacuum. Third, communication may not always solve problems. Often it can create even more. And lastly, communication skills can be developed. First, when looking at meanings are in people, not words. Simply speaking an idea doesn't mean it's communicated. Just because one is speaking doesn't mean what is said by the sender is understood or perceived correctly by the receiver. There's a specific limit to how many words need to be spoken before the receiver either understands the conveyed emotion or dismisses the speech altogether. Let's take a detailed look at this now. Too much decreases productivity and can lead to redundant or aversive speech. An example of this would be digging yourself into a ditch.
What are you eating?
Multigrain Cheerios.
So, trying to watch your weight?
No, why?
Nothing, it's just the box. It says it's low in fat.
Do I look like I need to watch my weight?
No, it just says it has 110 calories per serving.
Yeah, but there are other reasons why I like it.
No, it's the box. It just says it's made with 5 whole grains. And that's good, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. What else does the box say?
The box says shut up, Steve.
Too little, and the receiver may not know what the sender wants to imply. The information can be diluted, which leads to a complete misunderstanding of the original conveyed meaning.
A young husband comes home one night, and his wife throws her arms around his neck. Darling, I have great news. I'm a month overdue. I think we are going to have a baby. The doctor gave me a test today, but until we find out for sure, we can't tell anybody. The next day, a guy from the electric company rings the doorbell, because the young couple hasn't paid their last bill.
Are you Mrs. Smith? You're a month overdue, you know.
How do you know? Stammers the young woman.
Well ma'am, it's in our files.
Said the man from the electric company. What are you saying? It's in your files?
Absolutely.
Well, let me talk to my husband about this tonight. That night, she told her husband about the visit. And he, mad as a bull, rushes to the electric company office the first thing the next morning.
What's going on here? You have it on file that my wife is a month overdue? What business is that of yours?
The husband shouts.
Just calm down. All you have to do is pay us.
Said the clerk.
Pay you? And if I refuse?
Well in that case sir, we have no option but to cut yours off.
And what would my wife do then?
The husband asked.
I don't know. I guess she'd have to use a candle.
In some instances, the lack of the communication can be a good thing. A good example of this is when taking a salesperson into consideration. They don't necessarily speak or ramble on about a product when the customer is trying to decide. This can give the customer space and time to think about the decision that they are about to make. When we look at the communication does not occur in a vacuum theory. All things communicated are affected by the receiver's prior thoughts, actions, feelings, knowledge, belief, and relationship with the sender. One must really take into consideration what and who they are communicating with to ensure its meaning is transferred accurately. No one item communicated can be viewed as neutral, as there is always a bias in place.
An example of miscommunication occurs between a woman and two identical twins named Jay and Dash. Meet Jay. Jay is the owner of an old dilapidated boat. It just so happened that Dash's wife died the same day that Jay's boat sank. A few days later, an old kindly woman saw Jay and mistook him for Dash. She said, "I'm so sorry to hear about your loss. You must feel so terrible." Jay, thinking she was talking about his boat, said, "Psh, fact is I'm happy to be rid of her. She was an old rotten thing from the beginning. Her bottom was all shriveled up and she smelled like an old dead fish." "Oh my gosh," said the woman. "I mean it's okay, but she was always losing her water. She had a bad crack in the back and a pretty big hole in the front too. Every time I used her, the hole got bigger and she leaked like crazy." I guess what finally finished her off was when I rented her to these 4 guys looking for a good time. I warned them she wasn't very good, but they wanted to use her anyhow. These fools all try to get in her all at once and split right up the middle. The old woman fainted.
Can communication solve problems? Yes. But will communication solve all problems? No. Communication can actually lead to more problems than to begin with. Let's look at an example. When an individual gives honest critique of another individual, the critique may be viewed as an attack on another. This can have adverse effects on what was being implied and meant by the person offering the original critique.
Contrary to popular belief, communication skills aren't a natural thing that one may possess. These skills can also be developed through workshops, classes, training, and everyday use. Many people are not at their potential that they can be at to have proper communication skills.